we finally found it. 2.6 came in billion and 2.1 in distributions.
So these funds we're going to put some funds going in, some funds going out, but it's about, is there a net? So it's a net of about 500,000, is that what I'm reading? Or
Yeah, 500 million different, yes.
Just on that subject, Mr. Farrell, and I know we're not talking about the MTA plan, but when the governor and the mayor announced the MTA deal back in October, I believe, one of the things they agreed upon, they said the funds that go into the MTA budget would not be diverted. It would be used specifically for the MTA, not be used for other sources. I know that's coming in another plan. I hate to ask you to speculate on that, but do you expect that's going to be the case in the bill coming forward? Because it relates to this particular issue, in my opinion.
I would
Dare
not.
All right. Well, let me be a little bit, since we're talking about the dedicated bridge, highway and bridge trust fund, is there any language in this bill that would ensure the funds that go into the dedicated bridge trust fund are used specifically for capital and not used for any operating expenses?
Yeah. The governor's been putting a lot of money in, and he does it, but it's for capital and it's for other things that he can do it.
Because it's my understanding some of the dedicated highway and bridge trust fund now, not all that is used for actual capital. Some of it's used for the DMV operations are funded out of it. Motor vehicle operations are funded out of that. DOT snow and ice removal are funded. Those are operational things. Those aren't used for capital. Is that correct?
That could happen, yes.
And I know some of it's used to finance capital debt is used, but only really, it's my understanding that the taxes, fees, and assessments that drivers pay in the state approaches nearly $5 billion. Does that sound like an assessment that you might agree with? The total taxes, fees, and assessments that drivers pay, some of that goes into the dedicated fund, but some of it's not, like sales taxes on automobiles or gasoline taxes. I think that goes into the general fund, doesn't go into the dedicated fund. Is that your assessment?
Well, the funds go to different portions. Some go to the dedicated fund. Whoops, I just knocked it off. I need my daughter to play with that. Yeah. Okay. The auto rental taxes, the corporate utility taxes, highway taxes, highway use taxes, motor fuel taxes, motor vehicle fees, petroleum, total taxes $1,980,000,000.
Okay. Switching over real quickly, I know there was some conversations about the electric generation tax credit or cessation mitigation fund. I just wanted to understand, is there, and the reason I asked this question because I had a power producing facility, coal plant in my district that had shut down. Is there a deadline that would be eligible? Does it have to shut down by a certain date or before a certain date or after a certain date for it to be eligible for this fund?
$2015. Anything after that? June 15, 2015.
So
after that,
it has to be after that date. So
yes.
if any of us had a power plant that shut down prior to that, where the municipality and the school district is losing significant tax revenue, they will not be eligible for this fund, but anyone who closes after the board will be eligible for this fund.
Yes.
Does that seem fair to you?
No, that's not my job.
So I had to try that. Thank you, Mr. Farrell, for your time. Mr. Speaker, on the bill.
I'm not done anymore.
I'm good. We're good. Mr. Speaker, on the bill.
On the bill, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, and Mr. Farrell, again, thank you for your time. Just a couple areas in this budget. Regarding that issue of the generation mitigation fund, I'm concerned because I had a coal plant in Dresden, New York that shut down several years ago, and the school district and municipalities still feel the hit of that lost tax revenue. If we're going to do this, I think it needs to be fair for everyone, and so any municipality can benefit from that loss of funds. So I have some concerns about that. Relative to the capital, the transportation side, I know we're going to get into the MTA capital plan, the DOT statewide capital plan, the CHIPS money, Pave New York, Bridge New York money later. But I do have some concerns relative to the dedicated highway and bridge trust fund. When the governor and mayor announced their agreement on the MTA 5-year capital plan back in October, they also agreed that they're going to make sure that the revenue that goes in within that system stays for the MTA, is not diverted for non-MTA purposes. Unfortunately, with our dedicated highway and bridge trust fund, that does not happen. The money that comes into that fund is not just used for capital. It's used for operations for the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's used for the DOT snow and ice removal. We collect nearly $5 billion from drivers for taxes, fees, and assessments each year. But yet only about $2 billion of that's going into the dedicated bridge and trust fund. The sales tax on gasoline, sales tax on automobiles goes into the general fund. No one wants to pay higher taxes, fees, and assessments, for sure. But I think most people expect that the fees and taxes they are paying on those things should go to fix their infrastructure. And it just seems unfair to me that if we're going to have an agreement where the MTA budget is not going to divert those funding sources away from the MTA, we should do the same thing to ensure that the taxes, fees, and assessments that our drivers pay in the state, totaling nearly $5 billion, goes into that dedicated fund and is spent on capital to fix our roads, bridges, and culverts across the state. Because we have a tremendous unmet need in the state, $89 billion according to the comptroller. So I hope we can look forward and make some changes on this in the future. I know there's legislation carried in this House by our colleague who sits right over there. I'd like to see that happen here. We should be doing this right now and showing our commitment to keeping those fees and those assessments for capital purposes, not for operational purposes. That's what it's supposed to be. That's the way it should be. Unfortunately, it's not being done that way for the dedicated highway and bridge trust fund. That's all I have to say for now, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Skoufis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the chair yield for some questions?
Mr. Farrell yields.
I'm going to preface...
1 minute.
Sure. I'm going to preface my remarks the same way my colleague did, in that what I'm about to say is not a reflection of your work, Mr. Chairman, or your staff, but I am very frustrated, like my colleague is, regarding this bill. I do want to talk about Part BB, the power plant money. I guess my first question is, one of the criteria is this June 25th, 2015 date, where the power plant must have closed on or after that date to have its community qualify for this money. I guess my first question is, where did this date come from?
Yeah. Well, this was the date we used when we did it last year, and we continued it.
Right, in the omnibus bill. Now, the second criterion is the 20% threshold, where the tax value must have dropped at least by 20% at these power plants. Where did that number come from?
It also was last year's bill.
Right. So between these two criteria, it seems to me, especially the second criteria, this was carved out for specific closures in mind. What power plants were in mind when this was put together, given how this is set up and the language is set up?
I don't know.
Okay. My colleague mentioned the North Rockland School District, which I also represent. He represents the town of Haverstraw. I represent the town of Stony Point in the district. And one of the statistics he shared was the tax levy from 9 years ago. In the 06-07 school year, the tax levy in North Rockland was $142.7 million. The tax levy in the current school year, 15-16, is $139.7 million. there's actually less money being levied in North Rockland than 9 years ago. And as we all know, we all represent school districts in this chamber. Salaries have gone up over those 9 years. Pension costs have gone up over those 9 years. Healthcare costs have gone up over those 9 years, and on and on and on. In North Rockland, the levy has decreased over the past 9 years. Are you aware of any other school districts in the entire state where their levy has decreased from 9 years ago?
None comes to my mind at this moment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you.
On the bill, Mr. Speaker.
On the bill, sir.
The reason why the tax levy has decreased from 9 years ago in North Rockland is because the North Rockland Central School District has been decimated, and it demonstrates a critical flaw in the property tax system. And that is when one or two very large ratables leaves town for whatever reason, it can cripple that municipality, it can cripple that school district. That's what we've seen here in North Rockland, where one power plant has fully closed and the other power plant in the district, for all intents and purposes, has closed. It's been greatly diminished, its output. So we have seen in those past 9 years nearly 400 positions at this medium-sized school district be eliminated. 400. We have seen 2 schools completely close in this school district in the past 9 years. As my colleague mentioned, when these 2 plants were fully operational, the revenue that was coming in from these 2 companies alone to the school district was $46 million. Today, it is $1.8 million, on top of a $150 million bond that the school district took out at the time, and now their debt services are $17 million a year, largely as a result of that one bond. So it's not just 46 to 1.8, where they have lost over 90% of their tax revenue from 2 companies. It is a shift of over $60 million in the negative, because they're actually paying out $17 million in bond services and debt services now, where they started with $46 million coming in. This bill delivers a miscarriage of justice to the North Rockland Central School District, where a majority of its students are on free and reduced lunch. This is a working, poor school district that is being ignored by this bill for completely arbitrary reasons. We are telling New York State, we will help your community if your power plant closed by this arbitrary date and it decimates your community, but it won't help the North Rockland Central School District because it might have closed a little bit earlier. That, Mr. Speaker, is totally unfair legislation, but more importantly, it is totally unfair to the students who have seen this decimation unfold in their school district. One of 9 school districts that doesn't have full-day kindergarten here in New York State, and we will talk a lot more about that later this evening, Mr. Speaker. Schools have closed, almost 400 positions have been eliminated. This school district comes up here to Albany every single year asking for assistance, and they are on the brink of bankruptcy. Are we waiting for them to come to our chamber, to Albany, and ask for the state to take them over? Is that what we're waiting for? I hope not. We have failed this school district in this budget, despite the earnest efforts of the Speaker and the Chair. I know they worked hard for North Rockland. I hope we, the Governor and the Senate, can come together post-budget and get to a solution here for this district, because they desperately need help. I will be voting no. I appreciate the time, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rea.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the bill.
On the bill, sir.
Actually, I take great pride in associating myself with the comments made by my colleague from New City and most recently from Chester. I represent the village of Northport and East Northport, East Northport School District, and they are in the middle of a tax certiorari issue in which National Grid is trying to reduce the taxes that this power plant pays, say that 3 times fast, by 80 to 90%. At one time, this power plant produced over 50% of all the power on Long Island. Over 50%. It also is one of the oldest and most polluting power plants on the East Coast, with technology dating back to the 50s. So no wonder why a private company would like to try and boiler by boiler shut it down and open up little peaker plants in other places. My community will be facing the same prospects of Rockland. This legislation does nothing to address those problems and the potential hit to that school district. It'd be very easy if we just made the investment and repowered the facility. That's really what we should be doing in Northport's case, not giving them the ability to close the place boiler by boiler by boiler, where we've been told the best we can hope for is a 50% increase in my property taxes over the next 10 years. That was the deal that was made to them. Obviously, no one in their right mind could accept that, and therefore they're rolling the dice in court. They could lose even worse with an 80 to 90% reduction. So it's my hope that we do go forward and change the way we look at this issue for plants that are not just closed, but ones that still will have a huge, huge negative impact on the schools, the local municipalities, and everybody that's affected by such a reduction. So I plan on voting no on this piece of legislation. Encourage my colleagues to do so, and I look forward to working with my colleagues from Rockland County in the future on an equitable solution to this problem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Abernathy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This legislation before us does a lot of good things to protect, preserve, better our environment, particularly with respect to an expansion of the use of the Environmental Protection Act funds. I'm sorry, the EPF, right, thank you. The funds that are in the EPF. And I want to compliment the Speaker, the Ways and Means Chairman, the Environment Chair, and all of their staffs on improving the use of the EPF. However, if the state is going to continue combating climate change and be a leader in the battle against climate change, we not only have to do good things, we also have to stop doing bad things. In 2006, this state legislature and the governor, by a 60-to-1 vote in the Senate and a 140-to-1 vote in the Assembly, enacted legislation to stop the state and contractors doing business for the state from polluting our air. We were required to use ultra-low sulfur diesel fuel and the best available technology. Pete Granis, who was the chair of the Environment Committee at the time, put out a sponsor's memo and was later quoted as saying, nearly 90% of New Yorkers live in areas that fail to meet federal health standards for ozone, and nearly 65% live in areas out of attainment for the fine particle federal health standard. That was the reason for passing this legislation. Let me give a quote. New York has been a national leader in promoting cleaner air, and with this new law, we are taking another important step to protect public health and our environment by reducing the amount of harmful pollution from diesel vehicles. That's not me. That wasn't Pete Granis. That was Governor George Pataki, the Republican governor of the state of New York. Another quote: "Diesel exhaust pollution is a clear and present health threat to New Yorkers. It has been linked to premature death, asthma attacks, and can damage the lung tissue of children." Senator Carl Marcellino. I am dismayed, Mr. Speaker, that despite the efforts of this assembly, the governor and the New York State Senate prevailed in extending the date for which this law applies once again. This was passed in 2006, and the legislation before us today delays the effective date again to 2017. At the hearing on the budget, the Environmental Conservation Commissioner, if I remember correctly, said that the state fleet is 80% of the way to complying with the standards. Why can't we rush a little bit and get the other 20%? I think the reason is private industry has not caught up with the state. This law would require any private contractor who does business for the state to comply with the law. New York City has this law and has had it for a long time. We in Westchester have this law and have done it for a long time. So that means contractors who do business for the county of Westchester or for the city of New York have to comply with these standards. But the project right next door, which is a state project, those contractors don't have to comply. And they are polluting the air. They are endangering our kids in downtown. They're increasing the risk of asthma. And we are not in compliance with the federal standards. And the state of New York is not helping. You know, there's another interesting twist to this, because George Winter, who was the state senator, who was a co-sponsor of this, who represents Corning, or did represent Corning, highlighted how important this legislation was to economic development in the state of New York. Because in Corning, there is a company that produces the catalytic converters and the other equipment necessary so that we can have cleaner vehicles. And if you take a look, you'll see just recently the state of New York gave $3 million through the Empire State Development Corporation to this very company. And back at the time, Senator Winter, Republican conservative from Elmira, said that this would be a boon for this company, and this company was going to invest $300 million. And you know, this company has done very well. Just recently, it hired 200 more people and was planning to hire another 50. Why? Because it's in this business of cleaner vehicles. And reports are that right now, it's doing so well because the Chinese market is doing well. China and other countries around the world are using this equipment to clean their air. So they have contracts in China, but the state of New York has decided we're not going to use this local company, and we're not going to promote its business because we are not complying with the same standards that we should be complying with. So I respectfully suggest that this is a mistake, that if we want cleaner air, we not only have to do the good things that are in this bill, but we have to stop doing the bad things that we continue to do. So again, I compliment our staff and our leaders for the good things they put into this bill, and that's why I will vote for this legislation, but I am disappointed that we're not going to stop the vehicles of the state of New York and those who do business with us from continuing to pollute our air.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Blankenbush.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield?
Will you yield, Mr. Farrell?
Yes, I will.
Mr.
Speaker.
Farrell yields.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Just a couple quick questions on agriculture. I see in this bill
that we are transferring the administration of agriculture and dairy product marketing from Ag and Markets to the Empire State Development Corporation. Now, since Ag and Markets has done a great job in marketing their products, is there a reason that we're going to do this? In other words, why are we taking it away from Ag and Markets?
The legislature modifies the executive's proposal to transfer marketing orders to Empire State Development Corporation by requiring them to consult with the Commissioner of the Department of Agriculture and Markets and Marketing Order Advisory Boards in the formation, administration, and budgeting of the orders. Does that answer your question? No.
Not really, but why though? I mean, why are we doing it though? I understand what you just, there could be a good reason, I just.
No. The answer is that the executive wants to make sure everything is on 2% and under, and some of these things can be helped by doing things like this. Did I say that softly enough?
So this is, the executive wants to do this? Is that?
Yes.
So,
This was the,
so, all right, since we're doing that.
and we did this to change what he did, but we still did this.
So when we do this, what protection does our agriculture community have that they won't get lost in this Empire State Development Corporation? I mean, right now it's Ag and Markets directly to work with Ag and Markets.
Everything remains the same. The boards are the same.
The boards are the same, but is there someone that represents Ag and Markets on that board?
The commission.
Well, my question is there anybody on the who is originally from Ag and Markets? Is there anyone sitting on that commission that could sit there and support marketing of agricultural products?
The Commissioner from Ag and Marketing, the person who sits on that will be sitting with them. So they're representing them.
When you say the commissioner, you're saying the Agriculture Commissioner?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So that's Commissioner Ball?
Yes,
He'll be on that commission?
yes.
Okay. The only other question I have is that I see on the, in parks now, under parks, there's the redirecting of $5 for the Snowmobile Trail Development and Maintenance Fund.
Yes. Yes, we did that.
Now that's not a new tax. That's just a transfer,
Yes.
right? Okay. Is there any idea at all what kind of revenue is going to be generated by redirecting that $5 into that fund?
$600,000 is what they.
So you're anticipating $600,000 a year going
Yes.
into that dedicated fund that can't be swiped out for any other reason but snowmobile trails?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. On the bill?
On the bill, sir.
The only comment I have on the agriculture part, the questions I was asking, is that there could certainly be a good reason why we're doing the transferring that administration from Ag and Markets to the Empire State Development Corporation. which, again, I don't know what the reasons are because we really don't get what the reasons are. We're just told that they're doing this. So I'm concerned. I know the Farm Bureau is against this, and I don't really know. Maybe the commissioner or the executive has a good reason for doing this. I just question that Ag and Markets have done such a great job over the years that why are we doing this? So the question that I have is just why we're doing it, and I really don't have a good answer for that when we're voting on this bill tonight. Thanks, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Walter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the chairman yield for a few questions?
You asking Mr. Farrell to yield?
Yes, Mr. Farrell.
Mr. Farrell, Mr. Walter would like you to yield.
Yes, I will.
And he yields.
Thank you, Chairman Farrell. A couple of questions on Part U regarding the Climate Smart Communities project. This money is coming from the Environmental Protection Fund, is that correct?
Yes.
And is that coming from the existing amount, or is there extra money going in there to fund that?
Is it new or is it old? How much is 14? $14 million for climate smart communities programs to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, fund infrastructure, and rebates for clean energy vehicles and municipal planning.
14 million?
Yes.
And that's just straight out of the EPF?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. Great. Is there when will communities be able to first apply for some of these funds? When will the communities first be able to apply for their projects to get some of these grants?
As soon as we finish voting on this and April 1st comes, in about 24 hours,
Well,
it will
could be here a
fall
little
into
sooner
place.
than that, actually. So they'll be able to put projects in as soon as we pass the budget.
Yes.
Okay. And then how quickly after that will they be approved and get the money? What is there
How long
a
will it
timetable? Is there a process?
In the normal doing of things, they will do that and we'll go that way. I can't say what that is.
Now, and as I read through, it says that the projects by these communities, by the municipalities, does New York City qualify?
Say that again?
Does New York City qualify? Are they included?
Yes.
Okay, and all the way down to the smallest village
Yes.
in town, right?
From Montauk to
Any
Buffalo to
municipality,
everywhere.
right?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the qualifications, in order to qualify, it says that you need to be able to show